World War I, also known as the Great War, was a global conflict that engulfed Europe from 1914 to 1918. It was a war unlike any other, marked by unprecedented casualties and technological advancements that forever changed the face of warfare. This devastating conflict drew in nations from around the globe and left an indelible mark on the 20th century. The war's origins were complex, stemming from a tangled web of alliances, imperial ambitions, and fervent nationalism. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary in Sarajevo on June 28, 1914, ignited this powder keg, setting in motion a chain of events that plunged Europe into chaos. To understand the outbreak of World War I, one must look beyond the immediate events of June 1914. The seeds of conflict had been sown in the preceding decades, as European powers engaged in a dangerous game of power politics. Nationalism, a potent force in the 19th and early 20th centuries, fueled rivalries and territorial disputes. Countries sought to assert their dominance, often at the expense of their neighbors. Imperialism, the pursuit of colonies and overseas empires, created further tensions. European powers competed fiercely for control of territories in Africa, Asia, and the Pacific. This competition for resources and influence exacerbated existing rivalries and created new ones. Militarism, the glorification of war, and the rapid buildup of armies and navies also played a significant role in the road to war. Countries viewed military strength as a measure of national prestige and a deterrent to potential aggressors. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie in Sarajevo on June 28, 1914, provided the spark that ignited the powder keg of European tensions. The Archduke, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, was visiting Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia, which Austria-Hungary had annexed in 1908. The annexation had angered Serbian nationalists, who viewed Bosnia as part of their own nation. A group of Serbian nationalists, known as the Black Hand, plotted to assassinate the Archduke during his visit. On the morning of June 28th, the Archduke and his wife's motorcade was attacked by a group of Black Hand assassins. The first attempt failed when a bomb thrown at the car exploded prematurely. However, later that day, Gavrilo Princip, a 19-year-old Serbian nationalist, fatally shot the Archduke and his wife as their car drove past him. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand triggered a complex web of alliances that rapidly drew the major European powers into war. Austria-Hungary, determined to punish Serbia for its role in the assassination, issued an ultimatum to Serbia on July 23rd. The ultimatum contained a number of harsh demands, including allowing Austro-Hungarian officials to participate in the investigation of the assassination on Serbian soil. Serbia, backed by Russia, accepted most of the ultimatum's demands, but rejected those that it considered a violation of its sovereignty. Austria-Hungary, unsatisfied with Serbia's response, declared war on Serbia on July 28, 1914. Germany, bound by its alliance with Austria-Hungary, declared war on Russia on August 1st and on France, Russia's ally, on August 3rd. Britain, obligated to defend Belgium's neutrality after Germany invaded Belgium on August 4th, declared war on Germany on the same day. The Ottoman Empire and Bulgaria later joined the Central Powers, while Italy, Japan, and the United States eventually joined the Allied powers. Section 5. A grueling stalemate. Trench warfare. The early months of World War I were characterized by mobile warfare, as the opposing armies clashed in a series of battles across France and Belgium. However, by the end of 1914, the war had bogged down into a bloody stalemate along the Western Front, a line of trenches stretching over 400 miles from the North Sea to Switzerland.
Trench warfare became the defining feature of the Western Front. Soldiers on both sides lived in squalid conditions, facing constant danger from artillery bombardment, machine gun fire, and poison gas. Trench warfare resulted in horrific casualties, with millions of soldiers killed or wounded in futile attempts to break through enemy lines.
As Section 6, Key Battles, Bloodshed on an unprecedented scale. World War I witnessed some of the bloodiest battles in human history, as millions of soldiers clashed on multiple fronts. The Battle of the Marne, fought just outside Paris from September 5th to 12th, 1914, marked the first major clash on the Western Front and halted the German advance into France. The Battle of Verdun, from February 21st to December 18, 1916, was one of the longest and most costly battles of the war. The German and French armies clashed for nearly 10 months in a battle of attrition that claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. The Battle of the Somme, launched by the British and French armies to relieve pressure on Verdun, became a symbol of the war's brutality. On the first day of the battle, July 1st, 1916, the British Army suffered nearly 60,000 casualties, the bloodiest day in British military history. Despite the enormous sacrifices, the Somme offensive resulted in limited territorial gains. Section 7. A global conflict, widening fronts and new technologies. World War I was a global conflict, with fighting taking place not only in Europe, but also in the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. The Ottoman Empire, allied with the Central Powers, fought against Russia in the Caucasus, and against Britain and France in the Middle East. Japan, allied with the Allied powers, seized German colonies in China and the Pacific. World War I witnessed the introduction of new technologies that revolutionized warfare. Machine guns, artillery, tanks, airplanes, and poison gas significantly increased the firepower and lethality of combat. These technological advancements led to unprecedented casualties and transformed the nature of warfare. Section 8. America enters the fray, turning the tide. The United States, initially neutral in the conflict, entered World War I on the side of the Allied powers in April 1917. The sinking of American merchant ships by German submarines and the Zimmermann telegram, a secret diplomatic cable from Germany proposing an alliance with Mexico against the United States, outraged American public opinion and pushed the country toward war.
The entry of the United States into the war had a profound impact on the course of the conflict. The arrival of fresh American troops and supplies boosted Allied morale and provided a much-needed advantage on the battlefield. American forces played a key role in pushing back the German spring offensive of 1918 and ultimately securing Allied victory.
Section 9. Armistice and Aftermath. The Treaty of Versailles. After 4 long years of devastating warfare, an armistice was signed between the Allied powers and Germany on November 11, 1918. The armistice brought an end to the fighting, but did not formally end the war. The Paris Peace Conference, convened in January 1919, aimed to negotiate treaties with the defeated Central Powers.
The Treaty of Versailles, signed with Germany on June 28, 1919, 5 years to the day after the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, was the most important of the peace treaties. The treaty imposed harsh terms on Germany, including territorial losses, disarmament, reparations payments, and acceptance of responsibility for the war. The treaty's punitive measures aimed to weaken Germany and prevent future aggression.
Section 10. A world transformed, enduring consequences. World War I had a profound and lasting impact on the world. The war resulted in an estimated 40 million casualties, including both military personnel and civilians. The war shattered empires, redrew the map of Europe, and ushered in an era of political and social upheaval. The war also had a profound psychological impact, leaving a legacy of trauma and disillusionment.
The Treaty of Versailles, while intended to prevent future wars, ultimately failed to achieve its goal. The treaty's harsh terms sowed the seeds of resentment and instability in Germany, contributing to the rise of Adolf Hitler and the outbreak of World War II just 2 decades later. World War I marked a turning point in human history, ushering in an era of unprecedented violence and global conflict. The war's legacy continues to shape the world today, reminding us of the devastating consequences of unchecked nationalism, imperialism, and militarism.